And yet that's what this philosophy says. That divine discomfort is a necessary part of growth. Hooking onto the higher to where the fruit that you are about to bear will make the petals seem meaningless in comparison. And we're back with another reflection on the Daily V. And this morning's reflection, my time, don't know when you're listening to this, but this morning's reflection on my side has been on how when we shift our values, the things we previously had value for seem to lose their luster, seem to lose their value. When you hook onto the higher, not only does it, in terms of right action within the philosophy of Vedanta, not only does it generate energy, that is the distinction of right action. It generates energy within you instead of dissipating energy. That's the definition of wrong action within Vedanta, is that which dissipates energy within you. It's completely subjective to you, and it gets way away from a 10 commandment code of conduct rule list, and gets much more into what is your nature and your way to serve the community around you, and brings that to life. So it's subjective and contextual to you and your community and the needs thereof, which can be hard for some that just want rules. My older brother, Mike, when he was learning about Vedanta, he said, wouldn't it just be easier if there were just 10 commandments and just rules to live by? I said, well, the Old Testament has over 640 commandments, so it's far more than just 10. And that's kind of what happens in societies in general. We just add more and more rules if we feel like people can't think for themselves. This philosophy does not have a tyranny, so to speak, of low expectations for ourselves or for each other. It has quite lofty expectations that people don't just need to operate like robots with a list of rules, that they actually come to life. We come online when we need to use our minds and intellects to decide what is right in a given moment. That is ultimately what wisdom is doing the right thing the right way at the right time. But in all of that, there is the downside of really needing to cultivate and develop the intellect to know what is the right thing to do, the right time, the right way to do it. But each of us has our own natural, personal wiring that the right thing, maybe vocationally, might be for someone to be an electrician, for another person to be a CEO, for another person to be a COO, for another person to be a full-time stay-at-home father or mother. And it is a massive range because our communities, well, we need massive range of roles for each of us. But the commonality between them all contexts, all subjectivity, all personal roles, is to go beyond selfish pursuit and to hook onto the higher, which is an unselfish pursuit. It might be an unselfish approach to a work meeting you have coming up. It might be an unselfish approach to taking your kids to school, and anything and everything in between, but hooking onto the higher. Unselfish approach to everything in our daily lives not only creates peace within us, paradoxically, we usually think, if I just get that thing, or if I just make my thing happen, then I'll have peace. And that's not what each of the major timeless traditions tell us. They all are consistent that the selfish pursuit will actually agitate you. And that is the great illusion. It's thinking that it will provide you peace if you get that house, that car, that job, that spouse. But the reflection this morning is on how when we do hook onto the higher, the lower falls away and loses its prior value in our lives. When you hook on to community service, serving your family, serving your kids, that self-prioritization starts to fall away and lose its luster and its value. It doesn't have the same taste to it. That's because we're tapping into the higher, tapping into that satisfaction, that inner peace that only comes from tapping into the higher. But what happens as we continue to go down this path of continuing hooking on to the higher is that things that we used to love, like maybe figurines. Ram Dass would talk about baseball cards. Love them. You orient your afternoon around finding the best ones. Or the toy figurines, my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle complete set, complete with a little trifold case that opened up to present a New York City, little like back alley scene. And when you hook onto the higher, the value for those, they fall away just like the value for our toys, figurines, baseball cards. Fell away when we were younger. But this is a kind of a deep cut episode in that for those that have been on this path for a while, they start to recognize that, wow, the world itself in so many ways is just doesn't have the dynamism that I thought it had. Just recorded an episode with my teacher Joseph for Yoga for Your Intellect, the other podcast, the other Vedantic podcast that I co-host with him that's much more conversational than these daily reflections. And in that episode, we talk about how strange it becomes when you start to not see the same luster in the world and worldly pursuits that you used to, or that those around you still do. It's akin to finding yourself loving your great morning routine and feeling amazing in the morning. And you just, instead of having 3-4 drinks with your friends late into the evening, maybe go to 1 or 2. Or you have your Fitbit, your Whoop, your Apple Watch, whatever sleep tracker tell you that, you know what, even 1 or 2 drinks decreases the sleep quality by 30%. On average, 1 drink will decrease sleep quality by 23%. 2 drinks, 34%. On average, 1 drink will decrease your sleep quality by 23%, and 2 drinks up to 34%. And you just start to hook onto the higher of wanting to feel great in the morning. And that desire to stay out till 11 or 12 turns into turning in at 10, 9:30. Telling your friends after the dinner, all right, y'all, see y'all later. I got an early morning tomorrow morning. And you just don't have the same taste for going out late. You continue down this path and you don't have the same taste for acquiring titles in your work. You don't have the same taste for the gospel of more. I just want more. Bigger house, bigger payday, more cars, more nights out on the town. You lose taste for that. And a thing that I've been reflecting on lately is several years in, life becomes more full and seemingly dynamic. It becomes so almost like effortlessly clear in your work and your family life. But the world feels flat. Doesn't have the same taste to it. Your illusion that, man, right around the corner, life is going to be perfect. This world is going to give me inner satisfaction, which I know I really suffered from I would feast on the future. Just thinking like, yeah, now's not ideal, but it's gonna be a couple months, maybe a couple years of putting in the dues, working ass off 7 days a week. If we can strategically outcompete this or that it's right around the corner, and this world is going to provide that inner satisfaction, peace, inner outer prosperity. All of the things are coming just right around the corner. And I would feast on the future in that way. But whether it's this philosophy saying that this world, it's everything you're chasing is not out there, and it is the donkey traveling 1,000 miles for a carrot they will never actually get. We are just donkeys with these carrots. Oh, let me get there. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. And it being 3 feet away will take you 1,000 miles. Convinced it's just 3 feet away. Or maybe it's our own delusion of our experience of 1,000 times that thing that I thought up until my 20s or 30s, 40s, 50s, that thing that I thought I was sure it was going to give me, it was the missing piece. Sure, that thing, if I get it, it's going to solve all my problems. 1,000 times in a row, you've gotten it. And 1,000 times in a row, the desires just multiply instead of cease. Whether it's adherence to a timeless philosophy or it's just awareness of that experience of it not being out there. 1,000 times in a row, learning that it's like they say, a raise just becomes your salary after 6 weeks. Kind of become disillusioned by that idea that, all right, that lasting peace and prosperity, it's out there. You get disillusioned by that idea. You realize it's only in here. And when that happens, it's not just a notion. You come to truly know that the world is flat in comparison to the richness. The richness inside of going inward, of moving towards the self. So when you feel that and you wonder, is this normal? Is this distaste that I now have for these things that I loved before, is this normal? And this philosophy is here to tell you that it's not only normal, it is growth. The world and all of those external pursuits, they are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They are the baseball cards. They are the thing that all your friends got you into and then you grew out of. That is growth. That is not to say that life becomes dull in any way. Plumbing the inner depths of who we truly are is an adventure of unparalleled comparison. But the world does start to lose its luster. But let me add a disclaimer that growth does not come with any loss of dynamism from you within any of your paths of action. Like I said a few minutes ago, your work becomes more full. It becomes more competent. You get out of your own way and sabotage yourself less to where your work starts to become more and more flawless. Your relationships become richer because they come from a place of identification instead of instrumentation. But as you do go inward, you start to chase that inward path. Start to slip into it and love it, even if everyone thinks that now you're more of an extrovert than ever. You're more dynamic than ever. You're a better friend, a better father, better mother, better spouse or significant other than ever before. And all the while, those are all just effects. Effects from hooking onto the higher, hooking onto the inner. And like Swami will often say, like the petals of a flower falling. You think the flower is dying, but it's just because it's about to produce fruit that it could never produce if it held on to those petals. What can feel like flatness when you look back in the areas that used to provide you richness, it is growth, and you just might be caught right at that point where the petals are falling. You think, this is uncomfortable, this is different, and I don't know where this is going because this isn't the path many around me have taken. You're neither here nor there. And yet that's what this philosophy says. That divine discomfort is a necessary part of growth. Hooking onto the higher to where the fruit that you are about to bear will make the petals seem meaningless in comparison. This is so in line with almost every path of progress, from the caterpillar to the butterfly, and how painful that transformation must be, to breaking down our muscles to make them stronger, to pausing, really listening before speaking, to stopping and turning around if you're going in the wrong direction in order to attain progress. These are all saying the same thing. These are all the reference points of what growth in nature looks like. So if you start to feel like the world is a bit flatter than it used to be, know that you are on the right path. So if you start to feel like the world is a bit flatter than it used to be, know that that is because your values are shifting. And that is growth. That's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.